This video would have been out sooner, but I just couldn't stop playing Palworld. Palworld is an open-world action-adventure survival game that takes big inspiration from Ark Survival Evolved and, obviously, Pokemon. In this game, you create your own custom character and are dropped into this big world where your survival depends on how well you can overcome and master the dangerous threats that live within it. After a very short intro where you learn how to craft basic items and how to catch the pals that live in this world, it is your mission to explore this world, defeat the various bosses that stand in your way, and create a home for you and all of your new cuddly family members. One of the best things about Palworld is that not only is it a fun game, but it also serves as proof that developers with genuine love for gaming can outshine and outsell even the most well-funded of competitors. Despite nobody knowing Palworld at the start of 2024, by the end of January, the game had exploded into popularity and broke all kinds of records. Be honest, you think this intro is a bit unnecessary. Every gamer and their girlfriend knows what Palworld is, and a lot of it is because the developers, Pocket Pair Inc., clearly care a lot about their game and where it stands in the video game space. Right off the bat, Palworld feels like the perfect blend of all the popular game mechanics we know and love. Open world? It's got it, and it's lively. Crafting? Yeah, and as you build more rooms and add furniture, these bases will feel like a second home in no time. Tough but fair combat? Yes, and it even comes complete with a dodge roll. And to top it off, it's got a very charming monster catching mechanic that enhances all of the other gameplay loops. Nothing about this game feels out of place, and despite the game breaking glitches, Palworld is a very well done blend, and it's obvious why this game has broken so many records despite having almost no marketing. Some people have been quick to criticize that Palworld does feel like a mix of a lot of different games rather than having its own unique identity, with a lot of people pointing out how it's very similar to Breath of the Wild and to Pokemon. I want to start off this video by saying, yeah, undeniably the intro of this game is clearly inspired by Breath of the Wild. Leaving a dark and cramped area and coming out to a very bright and overpowering horizon is something that has been done in a lot of games, but still, Palworld clearly took its intro and climbing mechanics from Breath of the Wild. And of course, we can't talk about the monster catching without bringing up the undisputed king, Pokemon. Just like in Pokemon, you can catch and befriend all of the living creatures around you. Now, technically, they are called pals, but a lot of people call them Pokemon. And honestly, I do it too. But that's not my fault. You can blame Genericide for that. Wait, what's Genericide, you may ask? Genericide. Genericide is when a brand item for a generic product becomes so powerful and widespread that the brand becomes synonymous with the generic item, leading to the brand name losing its distinctiveness. For example, if I asked you to pass me a Kleenex, you may immediately reach for the nearest box of tissues and hand it to me without a second thought. That is because the Kleenex brand is so well known for its box of tissues, consumers started referring to any box of tissues they saw as a Kleenex, instead of calling them tissue paper. Over time, everyone grew to accept Kleenex as a second term for tissue paper, to the point where Kleenex was even at risk of losing its trademark. Funnily enough, a very similar thing happened with Nintendo in the 1990s, when parents started referring to all video game consoles as a Nintendo. It got so bad, Nintendo even had to print out these posters reminding people that, and I quote, "There is no such thing as a Nintendo." They were able to curb it just in time to save their brand, but can they keep everyone from referring to pets you can catch as Pokemon? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? This has been Random Facts with Oscar. Coming back to Palworld, I think its popularity has become a bit of a double-edged sword. It's great that a lot of people are aware of it, and the positive word of mouth has definitely helped it reach the record-breaking sales it has now. However, its popularity has also led to a lot of people to compare it to other popular games, most notably Pokemon. And I think that comparing a glitchy early access game like Palworld to a multi-billion-dollar franchise like Pokemon is really unfair. Palworld, despite its terrible glitches, is still better than many of the recent Pokemon games. Palworld is breaking itself apart trying to be innovative. In Soviet Russia, dear rides you. While the Pokemon series has done very little to change its formula in the 25 plus years it's been out. I hate that I even have to bring up this comparison, but since there are so many comments out there clearly wanting Palworld to fail just for existing in the same monster catching genre as Pokemon, I feel obligated to come in and vouch for the Palworld devs. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start off by admitting that Pokemon isn't that unique of a concept. It's a monster catcher, and it's a really bare bones one at that. You start off with one monster, you go out and catch other monsters, so you can bump into other people who also catch monsters, and you use your monsters to beat theirs. Palworld, however, is free to innovate however it wants. The devs were free to look around the gaming landscape, see what's popular, and build a new game entirely from scratch with those things in mind. They built an entire world where you can craft, fight, and explore, and they effectively tied each of these aspects to monster catching. The game is designed so that technically you can play through a lot of the game without catching a single pal, but catching pals makes so much of the game easier, so every interaction with the pals feels like a creative choice you're making, rather than something you're being forced to do. First of all, every single one of these little guys is unique. They may not evolve or change much beside their level ups, but the fact that they stay the same makes them feel more memorable. You see this little guy? His name is Pangolin. And on top of being a cute little fella, he's also one of the most useful fellas out there. He's an ice and water type, so he can help water plants around the area, and when the plants are done growing, he takes the edible parts like berries to the feeding box. And if you need help crafting items like arrows, he can even help you out. This little fella is really useful, but I admit I might be a little biased. Instead of shinies like in Pokemon, Palworld has these special types of Pokemon called Luckies. When you're out exploring, you may hear something like a very faint sparkle, and if you are able to follow this noise to its source, you will find a larger, stronger, and overall better Pokemon called a Lucky. A fitting name because you're really lucky if you find one of these, since they tend to have really good stats. I learned that you can nickname each individual one you catch, so I decided to name this fella Chungus. And since I caught him early on, he was basically always in my party. Early on, your tools are very low level, so getting wood and stone takes a long while. But instead of gathering all of it yourself, you can just make the Pokemon you caught do it. Again, I know they're not technically Pokemon, but come on, look at them. They're Pokemon. Now, in terms of using pals for combat, you absolutely can just build your own weapons and charge solo into a boss fight. But that is Dark Souls levels of difficulty. It's doable, but at the same time, when there's all these different cuddly weapons of mass destruction, why wouldn't you want to use them? But the combat by itself is fun. All the boss battles feel unique and have different patterns, and if you know the glitch, you can even catch them. I personally haven't caught them myself because part of the glitch involves harming an innocent village, and while slave labor is okay, I do draw the line at murdering innocent humans. Killing Pokemon though, that's just a natural way of things. And if you're killing them for oil, that's just being American. In all honesty, this game is perfect for whatever type of gamer you are. If you're the completionist who loves checking boxes and catching everything, this game is perfect for you. If you're the type of person who loves collecting resources and building second homes in your video game worlds, this game is perfect for you. And if you like the feeling of starting off super weak and then evolving into some sort of giant apex predator, this game is definitely perfect for you. With amazing gameplay that is perfect for everyone, a fun open world that actually feels alive, and support from developers that genuinely care about their game and their fans, I have to give Palworld a very high rating of 9 out of 10. The game is so close to being a perfect 10, but there are some game-breaking glitches that will cause frustration. Things like pals dying of hunger because they couldn't walk to their food, falling into walls and being forced to respawn, and also that big mysterious tree that the game hypes up in the very beginning. Yeah, you can't reach that. If you waste your time trying to swim to it, you'll just find a red wall that stops you from going even further. But you know what? That is just some mild frustration that another devs will work on and patch when they can. The game isn't perfect, but most times, it feels like it is. And it is astounding how a small group of devs really made a $30 game that outshines the $60 games that it was inspired by. We're nowhere near the end of 2024, but I think we already have everyone's Game of the Year. But hey, if I find any other great games, I'll be sure to let you know. Just please do me a favor and like and subscribe, It keeps me motivated to keep making videos and lets me know what type of video I should be making. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.